Díomh Go Léir. Hello everyone. We, the National Party, are here today to commemorate the memory of two Irish patriots, Captain Sean Hartley and Lieutenant Nicholas Mullins of the 5th Battalion, Kilkenny Brigade of the Irish Republican Army, who were killed in action here in Coolbawn, north of Castlecomer, on June 18, 1921, while taking part in an ambush against Crown forces. This particular spot, chosen because of its winding bends and strategic purposes, is a place many of us locals have passed by thousands of times during our lives. And as such, there was always the possibility of it becoming just part of the scenery. Something passed so often that it blends into the trees and the ditches themselves. Now it is the centenary of the Coolbawn ambush. 100 years since Captain Hartley and Lieutenant Mullins gave their lives here, elevating what was once simply another Irish road into hallowed ground. Now, more than ever, does their sacrifice convey a vital message for those of us alive today. And that message is this: freedom is never free. It is earned at the least in effort and at the most in blood. And to relinquish freedom lightly is to dishonour those who gave their very lives for the liberty of their countrywomen and countrymen. The purpose of the ambush here was to attack a convoy transporting gelignite from the police barracks in Castlecomer to the coal mines in Wolf Hill, County Laois. A local man named George O'Dwyer chose this location. The IRA endeavoured to place a mine here intended to knock out the lead convoy vehicle, whereupon 3 sections of men, numbering 12 men to each, would attack the other 2 lorries as they passed. Alas, the attack was not a success, at least in the immediate sense. The convoy, which were expected to arrive here at 10 a.m, had not arrived by 11 a.m. Scouts of volunteers had been placed to watch the barracks in Castlecomer, and men had been assigned to guard roads that opened onto this road, the Castlecomer to Athy Road, to prevent civilians becoming casualties of the attack. Alas, however, at least one civilian, a labourer employed by a local landowner named Florrie Draper, got through the roadblock and continued to his place of work, whereupon Draper, inquiring as to his lateness, was told of the impending attack. Florrie Draper, traitor to her nation and to the patriots fighting for Ireland, set out at once for the barracks in Castlecomer, where she duly informed the Crown forces of the ambush. Soldiers were dispatched to Coolbawn and most of the IRA disbanded. However, a breakdown in communication meant that the 3rd section of men laying here overlooking the road was not notified of the attack being disbanded. Sometime after 11 a.m, British soldiers, who had crept stealthily up behind the volunteers in this position, opened fire. Sean Hartley was killed immediately. James Doyle and Nicholas Mullins were seriously wounded, Mullins mortally so, as they tried to run across the road to the cover of the trees. The rest of the men took cover in a grove of trees about 300 yards from this position, where they stayed until nightfall before finally retreating from the site. The bodies of Captain Sean Hartley, Lieutenant Nicholas Mullins, who had succumbed to his injuries, and the injured James Doyle were left lying on the road for hours, until a horse-drawn cart belonging to Edward Dooley was commandeered to bring them to the military barracks. James Doyle was sentenced to death, but he survived by dint of the truce being declared a month later. Captain Hartley was buried in Glenmore on Tuesday, June 21st. Lieutenant Mullins was buried in Thomastown on Wednesday, 22nd of June. The night before the funeral of Sean Hartley, Florrie Draper's house was set on fire, burning until it became a blackened ruin. Part of the story that is seldom told is that the funerals of the fallen were harassed by Black and Tans. They searched women entering the church grounds, going so far as to disgracefully ask mourning women to remove their shawls to be searched, and standing on the altar while mourners filed past the coffins to say their respects. There were reports of the Tans mocking the funeral attendees as they slid back the wooden panel of the sealed coffins to say their goodbyes to the dead, asking questions like, "What are you looking for in there?" When you hear about Crown forces interrupting decent Irish people as they attend their place of worship, it makes you consider recent events, with worshippers being harassed by our so-called An Garda Síochána during draconian lockdowns that the Irish people neither voted for nor needed. The thing that strikes me most profoundly now as I stand here is how young both men were. Hartley was only 24, Mullins only 27. And can you imagine the feeling of it, laying here in wait for a shootout in which you might very well be killed, or perhaps captured and sentenced to death by firing squad. And yet they did so willingly. Now imagine where you were on the 18th of June in your 24th or 27th year, and what you were doing. You were not lying in a ditch on the side of the road in Coolbawn, County Kilkenny, with a Lee Enfield rifle, or a shotgun, or a revolver in your hand. And you weren't because someone else did that for you 100 years ago. They gave all their tomorrows for ours. They exchanged their future lives for an undying death, immortalised here in stone so that Ireland might be free. Now my question is, do you feel free? Do you feel as free as Captain Sean Hartley and Lieutenant Nicholas Mullins would want you to feel? Do you think they'd be satisfied if they could see this Ireland around us, or would they turn away in sheer revulsion from the very sight of what has become of it? I'll leave that open to yourselves to consider in your private moments. I'll close with this. Looking at this monument, we're emboldened by the audacious bravery of these great men. They remind us that the Irish people, the Irish nation, can never be subjugated. No gun or bullet could do it 100 years ago, and no pen or mandate can do it now. No foreign interest, nor corrupt politician, be they domestic or foreign, can hold us under their yoke. The Irish nation will always arise to cast off such impediments to freedom. But liberty is a flower whose soil needs tending. The weeds of greed and globalism, like imperialism 100 years ago, must be pulled. Nobody is going to do it but ourselves. If something grieves you about the state of our beautiful nation, speak up with bravery. If an action is taking against you or your liberties, sit not idly and take it, but take action in a way that is reasonable and just. You are not alone. And if you suffer moments of doubt in quiet times alone, come and seek out places such as these hallowed grounds that show us how brave we can be when the need takes us. And let the memory of our great patriots strengthen your soul. Thank you for your time. Gorib Mahagwiv, Yesharag.